Hey guys, hope you're doing well. Welcome to my channel. This video today is particularly on the subject of the splenic flexure and the instability that it can cause mentally. There's no shortage of things that I could say about this. My ability to stay in this picture is a lot more difficult than I know how much I want to tell someone. I have other YouTube channels, and one of those channels is a Christian YouTube channel, and that's why you don't see me making many videos here anymore. But my ability to make, like a 50-minute video or even an hour, even 30 minutes, it could be even less. It could be really constrained by my ability to stay in the picture. And because I have several issues, I have 3 abdominal disorders that are very painful. You could call it 4, but the splenic flexure syndrome from a surgery, and the surgery back in 2007 caused a lot of adhesions, so they're all the way to my pelvis to my sternum. They're quite painful, kink and burn and do all those things, but I'm used to that. And then from Moderna was induced a rare gallbladder disorder called biliary hyperkinesia, and I'm telling you this for a reason. It feels like a gallstone at all times, and I'm medicated for it, just the same thing that I use for the splenic flexure syndrome. So, and I get kidney stones too, and I get kidney stones because of that gallbladder disorder. Ever since I got it, it increased. Why does this matter? Because all of these things, the adhesions, kidney stones especially, gallbladder not so much, it can increase the pressure of the splenic flexure by what a kidney stone does. It just does. I don't know how to explain it. So there's 2 reasons I go back and forth in this camera shot, because I have a very painful disease of the spine called adhesive arachnoiditis, which causes the most heavy pain in the world for a pain disorder. A lot of burning in my legs. That's why you see me moving back and forth. But I also move back and forth because of my abdomen. I'll have to go out of the shot to take a bite of food, because the more I speak, the more my stomach gets, it starts to, get gastritis and stuff like that. And it's not nice, And so, everything I just said, I'm telling you, just the splenic flexure syndrome alone, just that alone, and what I was just telling you are things that can increase it. Or the stomach flu, which I got 2 years ago, which made the splenic flexure syndrome so much worse. What it does, kidney stones, what the stomach flu, it pushes the splenic flexure further up into that bend. And then the mental instability can occur. I would say with most people it does. And the splenic flexure syndrome is a syndrome that deserves so much more attention than it receives, which it's receiving none, although it's the most painful and probably most disabling of them all. So I'm not talking about IBS. This is not IBS. Just because there is, colitis and Crohn's have to, are also, why wouldn't they classify colitis and Crohn's in the IBS category? Because it has to do with, flatulence and, anything in your abdomen has to do with flatulence, so, but because it's trapped in the splenic flexure syndrome. So they classified them together, which was quite unfortunate, because the suffering of this is much more than them, from what I perceive and from what I read in medical texts that say that this one is unfortunate. It's a mimic of disease. I'll get to the mental part. I'm building up here. This is one of the only ones that when people, so I'm talking about the intractable form, meaning you have it for life, unless adhesions are causing it or something else is causing it where they might be able to relieve that pressure. I don't know. Mine were caused by surgery and adhesions in the splenic flexure. So I was operated in the splenic flexure, pardon me. It was resected. I don't like giving my private information away, but when it has to do with pain and those things, and if it benefits other people, which I know it does by these specific videos that I make, then I make them, because it's unfortunate. So when I was investigating this, I was looking at all the medical texts I could find, which are not many, and this is the one that probably deserves the most attention. I'm telling you the truth. Because there have been many exploratory surgeries done with the splenic flexure syndrome because they don't know what it is. It's hard to diagnose, and I don't even have my diagnosis, and that's okay. I've spoken to my doctors, they understand. It's up to them whether they're going to give it or not. So how do you get the diagnosis? Probably through an x-ray. X-ray, I don't know, CT scan, but what you would have to do, I know what you have to do. You have to eat gas-forming foods, right? And you have to be able to be very specific. You know what sets you off, right? And for me, it's in the morning. It's in the morning when I get up and I take that first bite of my first meal of the day. It's already there. I can feel it. But so many people with this get unnecessary exploratory surgery that makes them worse because they think their bowel is dying. Think about that. That's how painful this is. The manifestations of this can look like many things, including hysteria, because the people are so restless. This is a truly unfortunate, would I call it a disease? I don't know. I've never really thought about it that much, but people can get this literally overnight. That was in my case, but I knew something was building, but it became acute where, man, there was nothing I knew how to do. I didn't know what medications I was supposed to take. I gave up eating because of other things that were going on in my life. My body was already decayed at that point, and because I was bedbound, but So they'll open your abdomen because they think your bowel is dying. That's the presentation of the splenic flexure syndrome. So before I get into the mental instability, let's just take a look at this. You have your ascending colon that goes up, and then it goes and it bends a bit. Everyone's is different. It's not always going to look the same. It goes, across the transverse colon. And let me see. I don't know if I can do that with this, but so it goes across. Let's just call that your transverse colon, okay? We'll just say it's straight, even though it's got a slight bend in it. So it comes up from your small bowel. Once it goes through your small bowel, it goes up into the ascending colon, the first part of the colon. Then it does a little twist at its turn, which is a hepatic flexure, and then it goes into the one that goes across your abdomen. So it goes across, and with people, it's usually, when it goes up into the splenic flexure, it's just a bend that's, not too much, and then it goes down, and people are able to have a good bowel movement that way, right? They don't have to do much, right? You wake up in the morning, have a bowel movement, don't have to put much work into it. But with this, it's like an acute turn. That's what this is, the splenic flexure. So it's flexed up this way. So what happens? Things get trapped. Things get trapped. You have a pseudo blockage. It truly is a pseudo blockage. So it's like it's as if it has a timer on it. I'm not kidding you. This is such a brutal thing to have. And it was particularly hard for me this morning because of the things that I did yesterday. And I'll explain that. The more activity you do, the more that it's going to go in. But you also use activities such as walking to push it through. So you have to be very strategic about this. It's a maze to, it really is. You become your own professional once you learn how to deal with the ins and outs of the splenic flexure syndrome. Where was I on this? I just completely lost. Just let me pace here for a second, guys. It's really bad right now. I'll just start off, I guess, wherever. Pseudo blockage. So, do you know I called the Centers for Disease Control? No, NORD, National Organization for Rare Diseases. I spoke with them on quite a few occasions, but they don't do that kind of research where you can phone in. I'm in Canada, so I would have to call the National Gastroenterology of Canada to do this, and I've been very short of time, but there are times where I just decide, hey, I'm just going to call. If they call me back, that's good, but if you have a kidney stone, it will push your splenic flexure even further up into that flexure. If you have the stomach flu, which happened to me, and then I ended up with the beginning of bowel death for real. I'm not even kidding you. I got the stomach flu, and I had to call 911. Couldn't even take my pills in the morning. They said I had the stomach flu, and I had intussusception, which was 2 in a million. That chance for an adult to get that intussusception. My bowel was dying. It telescoped on itself, and because there's no information on the splenic flexure syndrome, you know what's going to happen the next time I get the stomach flu if that happens. You know, I live in an apartment building around a lot of people. So, but not many people have this. And so I tried to find the incidence. What is the incidence of this? And I even used ChatGPT to have a conversation with it to find out what is the true incidence of this. It's probably, man, I'm not even kidding you, 50 to 100,000 to have the true intractable form. So that's why nothing has been done yet. How many people do you know who suffer with this? Or make a video? Has anyone beyond me made a video? I'm being humble. Has anyone made a video beyond me? No, I don't think so. Personally, no. Go look. It's just very strange. That just goes to show that there probably isn't. So you can end up with a pseudo blockage, and that pseudo blockage. So I had the stomach flu. I was in the hospital, and while I was, getting bouts of diarrhea, I had to push my splenic flexure down to let it go out. Just imagine that. You know how bad the stomach flu is, right? You get relief by going to the bathroom, but this produced a pseudo blockage. And that pseudo blockage it's a real blockage. Things may get by in the minute amount, or maybe not at all. And when it's blocked like that, that's where you get your symptoms. Everything behind that, that's trapped in your transverse colon, which is near your stomach, right, produces symptoms: vomiting, colic. This is a colic disorder, and I use Buscopan for it, and it works very well. Without it, I wouldn't do well. I'm going to get to the mental symptoms, but I'm trying to show you. Things like kidney stones and certain things can make that pseudo blockage last longer. So how long does it last anyways? So you may wake up, you may feel really sick, may be really up high there, which means you have to work it through. And you do have to eat. You have to eat fibrous foods. Don't be afraid of fibrous foods. These are the things that are going to push your colon. Take Buscopan while you do it, because otherwise, and anyways, this is why you're probably going to lose maybe even up to 40 pounds. I did. When I first got this, so I'm maybe 125 pounds, and I work very hard to keep my muscle, push-ups, do all those types of things. But, you know, just like things like celiac disease and that, I lost a lot of weight. And it was unfortunate. But let's get into the mental symptoms. That pseudo-blockage that happens with the splenic flexure syndrome, whether just your normal pseudo-blockage or something that's increasing it and amplifying it, it may last 2 hours, but then it releases. It's like a magic release, and it feels good when it lets go. So it appears as a disease process. Disease versus mechanical, whatever. Once it becomes intractable, it all looks the same. If you have this, the splenic flexure syndrome, I implore you, please make a video, make more videos, because when you make more videos, then people take notice. You know, I know that gastroenterologists and specialists look through videos such as these. They do. Pardon me, I'll talk about the mental instability in just 1 second. I'm very careful about how I eat, how long it takes me to eat. I eat slowly. I don't eat. I get as many calories as most people per day that are healthy. I drink water, right? You need water to help you push this along. So you drink water throughout the day. All right, let's get into the mental instability. I never really talked about it this way. You may be called things before you actually know what this is, depending on your life situation. What I mean is, people may see you in a light that has nothing to do with your actual thinking process at all. So what's going on in your abdomen is, it feels like you have a metal bar stuck in there, and it's like you have a crowbar, literally the shape of a crowbar, right? It goes like, you know, straight up with a bend. It's like that. So it's just like a crowbar being stuck in there. What do you think that's going to do? You push up, the more it pushes up in there, the more restless. When you start to get a restless state like that, your reactions of severe restless, I don't call it, it's acute. This is a acute colic disorder. How do I know? Because I get chronic kidney stones. So I should know. I also have gallbladder dyskinesia from Moderna, as I said, so I know what suffering of the abdomen is. The splenic flexure syndrome, I hate the most, even over kidney stones. That's how bad this is. So when it's pushing it, going across, and it's stuck up there, you feel really restless, and you may feel like you're having a heart attack because it's anatomically close to your heart. Things are happening in your stomach and in your colon. You're becoming restless. You might be pacing back and forth. You're in a restless state. Have you ever seen people in a restless state? What do? They have anxiety. They may even get panic attacks. But just hold on. Just hold on. Use round-the-clock medication, Buscopan, for every meal. Excuse me. So you may appear to someone like you're hysterical, right? You may feel that way in your mind, because that's what it does. A restless state superimposes on a person. So you may be different than me. You may have an anxiety disorder. You may have this, that, and the other. So the way that person is originally, it's going to superimpose on that, right? That restlessness transfers its way into that person. So if you have natural anxiety, general anxiety or panic and those things, it's going to make it go way up. So you may feel unstable mentally, and it may really bother you. But the thing is, to know if it really is a true instability is if it goes away, and if it goes up and down in waves that are predictable. It's unfortunate, and personally it makes my thoughts race a lot, and then it calms down. I have to eat small frequent meals throughout the day, as you probably know by now if you've had this for long enough. So I've had this for 10 years. 10 years now. I find if I'm sitting here eating, because I'm in university, I'm doing a lot of studying, a lot of reading and stuff like that, and it's not easy to stay in one spot. And I could be eating, say my meal is rice. I'm eating rice, and you're going to say don't eat rice. I do eat rice. It actually works well for me, but I may feel while eating that, and other things for that matter, when I'm trying to stay still. Like it's my time. I take my meds because I have suffered with a lot of other pain. Take my meds, get my meal ready, and usually it takes my meds to really kick in 45 to an hour. That's how long it takes to kick in. So for that time, I sit there and I study. That's my one of my studying times. And during that, I don't want to be pacing back and forth all the time. I want some control over myself. So while I'm sitting there, I can feel like I'm going crazy. And I know it's my abdomen. And what I find is this, that when it's, so usually right after a meal, I go for a walk. Why? To push my colon through, to get my endorphins running. And that's what it does. It pushes it through, and it's necessary. It's necessary for that day or the next day's bowel movement. Trust me. I go on 2 walks a day. I know when I eat a meal, I have to help push my colon along, just like every person does with exercise and stuff like that. But it's extra in this. So it requires a lot of extra work. So times throughout the day, you may be restless, anxiety, you may feel panic, you may feel like, like everything's coming down on you. That's the nature of this. And with this, there are certain things that will make it worse, and those things are like, so on a ride on my motorcycle or being in a car for too long, what that does is the longer you sit still, the longer, especially when you sit down, it says it doesn't take long for your colon to warp, to go up into that flexure again. And it's just a game. That's what this disease is. It's a game of what can I do to make it go through. You can feel like you're going nuts in the process. But once you get used to it, once you get used to it, it can be good. I mean, like you can still have an okay life. And I understand this is the one abdominal disorder, and you may say IBS because people have flatulence and stuff, don't want to be around other people. But no. This one's the one where, if you have a lover or something like that, you can't sit with them for long because it's always there. You never not notice it. It's always there. It's unfortunate, and people have to be cognizant around you that this is happening. Pardon me, I got a pace. So if you have schizophrenia, panic disorder, personality disorders, autism, whatever it is, this will superimpose on that, and it will worsen what you already suffer with. Isn't that unfortunate? And this is the only one that this is the only abdominal disorder that pushes so hard into an anatomy structure. You know, you might say there's another one with stool, you know, with the contents of your colon, but no, man, this one is different. And that's why people are having people show up in the ER and they're in an acute state, meaning they're having acute colic. They don't know if it's a stone. They don't know if it's a gallbladder. They don't know if it's the spleen. They don't know if it's your this and that. Does he have a hole in his stomach? Does he have a hole in his bowel? What is it? Is his bowel dying? So they open it up, because the only way to really look at this, unless by the time that person comes in, they catch it on an X-ray or something like that, it has to be in a special circumstance to, yeah. I've had conversations with my family doctor, whom is very good. She's a very good physician. I've said, please, you know, I've been dealing with this for 15 years. I live in Canada. I waited a year and 2 months to go to the gastroenterologist. That's how bad healthcare here is. We're lucky to have it, but because of immigration and because the healthcare is choked here, it took 14 months just to see this person. And I wanted to see him about the splenic flexure syndrome. And when I had my gallbladder not dyskinesia, hyperkinesia, I asked her about both of them. She didn't, even though I had the diagnosis for one of them, okay? She said, I don't know what that is. I thought, what the heck? And then I asked her about the splenic flexure syndrome because I wanted to get a diagnosis. And no one's willing. No one is willing. Good luck. That's what I say to you. Good luck. What I would say is, I know it's going to bother you. If you have a doctor that's willing to go an extra mile to set you up specially to take that picture, this is what's going to happen. They're going to say, I'm not willing to give it. If you're lucky, your doctor will. I'm surprised mine won't, but I'll have to respect that. You may get a doctor that will say, okay, we'll do this plan. You eat those foods. You set yourself up in a way that you can have your x-ray of your splenic flexure at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, right? That's the way you have to do it. So I just find it so unfortunate that something this severe is just under the radar completely. And so that's why I've been calling NORD, and I may contact the Canadian Gastroenterology Association, because I do believe I'm able to explain this to them in a medical way. So because of all my experiences and all your experiences, and so yeah, you know, I'll just say this in conclusion. Eat healthy. Don't be afraid of fiber. It may feel, you know, eat it once. Eat your fibrous food. Like for me, I'm just waiting to eat this because I want to eat it all in here. Oatmeal and blueberries, that's going to help push it through. So what I do is I eat that first. Like, you know, first I ate something when I got up, and I feel sick when I get up. It's pushed in there. I'm like, man, I got to take my meds and let my colic medication work. Buscopan. Takes about 40 minutes when it's that bad. Drink your water throughout the day. Make sure you do this once a day. Oatmeal, cut the sugar, no sugar. And, you know, put some blueberries in there. Just do that once per day, okay? Buscopan strategically throughout the day. So like I take it 5 times a day. I don't take 2 Buscopan at once. I just take one's good enough. You know, I don't want to take too many of these things, and they can get expensive, but they're not too expensive. Actually, you can buy them from, I believe, Indonesia, Philippines. I managed to get them for 25 cents a piece, which was really amazing. And if you buy them on eBay, you have a guarantee, by the way, on eBay when you do that. But drink water throughout the day. Take a couple walks per day. You want to have a healthy life. Eat fruits, vegetables. You know, I hope you can find a healthy life. I really do, because I know the suffering of this, and I really wanted to make this because of the way I woke up this morning. One day is different than another. It's not always like this. And I should have added this. Why so bad this morning? Because I did a lot of extra stuff yesterday. I biked to the grocery store, and I went out on my motorcycle, and went out on a walk, all in one section of time. I measure my times in sections according to my meds and things I can do with my pain, and meals and all those things. I'm sure you already have that type of thing in your life, but you know, I probably walked further than I should have, done more than I should have, and when you do that, it does push it through. But if you do too much, you can end up with it just absolutely rammed up there. And when you go to stop and stay in position, you want to feel like you want to move more. Guys, I hope this has helped you somehow. There is a life. You can find a life through this. You will eventually. Listen to all my splenic flexure videos. Just look for them on this channel. And stay calm.